Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, good middle of the day. Welcome to my kitchen. Actually, this afternoon, when we host this watch party, we're going to be making Italian chicken skillet together. I put little Alicia keys on. I'm in my kitchen. One thing that I want to suggest as we kind of cook together is that, you know, you guys just really try to embrace if you're nervous about cooking, if you feel really confident about cooking. It doesn't really matter as long as you embrace that you're doing something really good for yourself, maybe for your family, for your loved ones. And so just kind of take a couple seconds with me. We're going to prepare together. We have all the time in the world to get through this meal. I'm going to show you a couple things that I, like to have in my kitchen. Maybe you could do a little scavenger hunt in your kitchen. And we're going to kind of play with this meal a little bit. I chose the Italian chicken skillet. You can print it out. I love to print my recipes. I will hole punch this and actually put it in a notebook. One of my clients taught me that. And I like to print it out. I'm just like that. I just feel like if I can touch it or if I grab one of my books or something like that, it helps me be able to refer to it back and forth. I am not a person that memorizes a recipe. I go off of medicinal aspects of food. I go off of taste and preferences. I might have Alexa turn that music down a little bit. Alexa, turn the music down a little bit. She listened to me. She usually doesn't listen to me. There, that's good. Uh, okay, so I am like I was saying, I was a paper person, but I also, with the Italian chicken skillet, it's written as a phase 3 recipe, but we're going to talk about like morphing it into a phase 1 or a phase 2. So a couple of things that as I was prepping and I was grabbing everything out of the kitchen, some things that I thought, I was going to already prepare things ahead of time, and I thought we should probably go through all this together. So one thing that I do is I kind of set my sink up, and I wanted to share that with you. So I like to wash my fruits and vegetables in grapefruit seed extract. I always keep hand soap next to mine. I love Dr. Bronner's. I love all of his stuff. I like hand lotion, so I put lotion there. I always put my dish soap out so that I can wash my sink or anything that I need to during it. And then I always use a natural cleaner. So visually, I don't like this sitting on my counter all the time. I keep my soap and my hand lotion. But before I cook a big meal, I just throw this all on the counter so that it's easy for me and I'm not like kind of digging through things. So as I was getting ready to film this, I thought, oh, I got to do this and I got to do this. And I thought, I should probably do it all in front of you because maybe it's something you haven't thought of. You're always welcome to post things that you want me to answer questions under here. And remember, as a member, you get your apron and you get a baseball cap. So y'all should be having these on together. If you don't have one, reach out to Zendesk, make sure you get one sent. So the Italian chicken skillet, it's really easy to make. We use spaghetti squash, and I'm going to start there first because that takes a little bit longer. And so I grabbed a nice, big, amazing spaghetti squash, and sometimes you can peel the stickers off. We'll see how this goes. That goes well. If you can't, like I couldn't with my zucchini, I simply will take like a potato peeler and just go like that and get my sticker off, right? Just an easy way. But I'm going to just wash this. Now, a lot of times people don't wash their vegetables if they're going to only eat the inside of it. But you want to remember that you're taking a knife and you're putting it right through the middle of your vegetable. And one other quick thing, and I almost did it off camera, but I thought I would do it with you, is I will use a sponge and I will cut it in quarters so that I can use it to scrub my fruits and vegetables, and then they pop in the dishwasher really easily, and then you can sanitize them. So I'm just going to take this. I'm going to put a little bit of grapefruit seed extract. It's a couple drops on both sides of my sponge, and I'm just going to I'll wash up my squash here really quick. Again, people will also say things to you like, well, it's organic. You don't need to wash it. Actually, it's organic. You're right. You're not getting, the chemicals and the heavy metals. But there are bacteria and potentially parasites and funguses and yeasts that can really flourish on organic foods. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that everything is healthy and safe for you to consume. The other thing that I'll do is I'll chop all my vegetables first and do my meats last so that I can have a safe cutting board to cook on. Throw all these extra sponges over here, and we'll get after this one. I usually use a cutting board that has edges like this when I cut meats. Not to gross you out, but it helps keep the juices from kind of sliding off of your cutting board. And I'll use a straight cutting board with vegetables. Sorry, I'm just going to keep showing you guys things. I also use a smaller cutting board when I do with meats, when I cut meats, excuse me, so that I can pop it in the dishwasher. Again, you want to make sure that you're properly kind of sanitizing these things, and sometimes people don't think about that. They just rinse off their cutting board, and I'm like, no, stick it in the dishwasher. And if you use a big, ginormous cutting board, it can sometimes not fit in your dishwasher. So I'm going to set this aside. You'll see me pull it out again when we get to the point where we're going to be cutting the chicken. I am not a chef, as I tell you guys, and so what I really do actually enjoy is all of the technique suggestions that I get. I'm hoping that in maybe my vulnerability of just getting after it in my kitchen will make you maybe feel a little more comfortable about cooking in your kitchen. So this is a nice big spaghetti squash, and it's decided to hold on to my knife for dear life. I'm very careful. One thing that I was told early on by a chef friend of mine is that a dull knife is a dangerous knife. So my son is really good actually about keeping our knives sharp. And it's one thing that I've invested in my kitchen is a nice knife set. We were really lucky we caught a sale at Christmas. They were 75% off. And so my son actually got a set for his house too. I'm going to try this. Look at me. I am so strong. I had all my Vites today. It's okay, I'll grab one. So I like to scoop out the insides, which is what you need to do for a spaghetti squash. I love, because I have a great toaster oven, I love to actually save the seeds and toast them and have them as a little snack. Let me just grab a bowl really quick. Come with me in my kitchen. Actually, I'm going to use a small bowl to scoop this out, and then I'll use a larger bowl for later when we pull out the spaghetti squash, which is I always like a fun part for me when I make spaghetti squash. I look at it like this, and it doesn't look like it's going to look like noodles. And then when you're done and you use the fork and pull it out, I don't know. It's just very fun. So anyway, just like you would do a pumpkin or an acorn squash or a starburst squash or a summer squash, you can always rinse and toast with a little bit of sea salt. Any of the seeds, they're really yummy. They're very, very good for your health right now. They're amazing for the immune system. They're high in zinc. They're anti-helmintic, meaning they're good for prevention of parasites. And again, I want you to feel confident to know that your food doesn't have to be, bon appetit beautiful. It can just be beautifully delicious. And so if you need to split your squash like I just did, go for it. Okay, so this takes a little bit longer to cook, so that's why I'm throwing this in first. It takes 40 minutes. You can put it on aluminum foil or parchment paper, either one. I had parchment paper, so that's what I used. The recipe calls for aluminum foil. I have cooked this both ways several times. It does not matter. They both turn out incredibly delicious. And the other thing with all of my recipes, and really anytime you write a recipe or create a recipe, they always really encourage you to under-season in the recipe because everybody has different tastes and preferences. So don't hesitate to vamp it up a little bit once you've made it once or twice. If you like more of the Italian herbs, if your person likes a little bit more pepper, you can totally do that. I love herbs and spices. So this calls for salt and pepper. I'm going to go ahead and throw some of my Italian herbs on it. And I'm going to use grind to a salt, which is a salt and pepper blend. You'll notice I have these on my counter. You can, especially the first time you make something, the second time, the third time, These are really good friends. So for example, here it says to add on your spaghetti squash, you can put salt and pepper on it and it gives measurements. You can use these for that reason. Or you can just kind of have a little bit of fun and put stuff on it. I'm a big one for seasoning towards the end of my meal as well. You don't lose any of the nutrient value like you might lose if you cook with all of your herbs and spices. So far we haven't used any oil. So this would still be totally appropriate for phase 1. When we're later cooking and we're using the pine nuts, I'm going to give you some substitutes so that you could make it phase 1 or phase 2. Okay, I'm throwing this in the oven, you guys. This is going in at 450. And again, I used parchment paper. You can use aluminum foil if you'd like. And I'm just going to pop this right in the oven for 40 minutes, 45 minutes. Voila. Okay, what are we going to do next? You guys have all your recipe sheets? What are you guys doing next? I already did the spaghetti squash, and it says, meanwhile, place a large non-stick skillet over medium-high heat and add the tomatoes and their juices, onions, garlic, and a 1/4 cup of chopped fresh basil. So again, we're going to be in a situation where we're going to need to wash a little bit of vegetables. Basil, you can take your grapefruit seed extract and you can put it in a spray bottle. Another quick trick that I do is I just literally add water. Let's see if I can find a little bowl. I'll use this. Isn't this the coolest cabinet in the whole wide world? I love this. It's my favorite Lazy Susan ever. Again, I'm going to just kind of throw my basil in there. I'm going to be getting rid of the really woody stems, so I might as well get rid of those now. And I put a trash can when I was building this kitchen right under my sink, which I love. If you compost, it's really good to have your compost container really close to your sink. Keeps you from dragging everything across your kitchen. Oh my God, this smells so good. And again with the basil, how much does it say here? All right, you guys, I need your help. Here we go. A 1/4 cup. So I have an idea of how much I'm going to need. I'm going to pull that out. And I think this will be good. I don't think I'm going to need my second pack. Again, you cannot use too much basil. It is a phenomenal digestive aid. It helps settle sour tummies, people that have heartburn, people that can't tolerate tomatoes, that get maybe a little bit of heartburn with tomatoes. Basil's a really good alkalinizer for that acidity in your tomato paste. Everything's recording okay here? All right, just double check it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some grapefruit seed extract. A lot of times you'll see I'll use like Brita water as opposed to tap water. We just put some filters on. And so I'm going to put about 4 drops in there. So it's been a really nice relief. But the Brita waters or the Brita filters or any carbon filter, what's great about it is you don't have waste. With a lot of the water purifiers, you have quite a bit of waste as they split the water. So don't hesitate to use that in your kitchen. All right, I'm going to set the basil aside just for a second here. What else do we need? We need tomatoes. I'm going to open this. I know I should probably have like an electric can opener or something. Another thing that I like to do, and you don't have to do it, but a lot of times I'll brown my onions and garlic before I add my tomatoes in. It depends if you have an affinity for a little bit more when you make Italian food. And this is the same with like barbecue sauce or spaghetti sauce. If you like it to have a little more bitterness, maybe a little more savory flavor, put your onions in with your tomatoes. If you like it to have a little more sweetness to it, especially with the yellow onions, you want to cook your onions and your garlic first and then add the tomatoes. It kind of mellows out the acidity in the tomatoes. I had really bad tomato food allergies when I was a kid, super, super bad. And I did actually NAET and homeopathy to get neutralized for it, so I get to enjoy tomatoes now. I would, my lips would swell up, and I would get really bad raspberry rashes. So tomatoes, always felt a little acidic for me, so I learned a lot of tricks, like with, what do you call those? What are the drinks that people have at buffets? I mean, not buffets, at brunches, a Bloody Mary. Yeah. I learned that if you add extra celery, that helps buffer the acidity in the pH of the tomato too. So, and then you do your Weekend Warrior soup in case a Bloody Mary accidentally falls into your mouth. So I'm going to do it just a little bit different in the sense that I'm going to set my tomatoes over here, and I'm going to cut my onions first, and I'm going to throw my onions and my garlic in the pan. Again, it is totally up to you how you prefer to do that. There's also some philosophies about cutting onions, right? If you leave some of the skin on, you get less exposure to the enzyme that makes you cry when you cut onions. So a lot of times I'll leave just a little bit of that exterior layer on, and it helps me when my husband or my son aren't here to chop the onions for me. It helps me just not cry so much when I make my onions. All right, this is for my basil. And let's play with the onions really quick. So is it a whole onion, guys, or is it a half an onion? I have a tendency to get a little loosey-goosey with my onions. How much of an onion is it? It is a whole large onion. Yay! Okay, good. I was going to talk us all into doing a whole large onion, even if it didn't call for one. But again, and I know we talk a lot about flavors. Yellow onions make things a little bit sweeter. If you cook the onion first, it brings up that sweetness even more. Red onions have a tendency to pull out the savory. They can really enhance a spice if you're really looking to spice something up. There's a million ways you can cut your onions. You can cut half of it one way and then decide that that wasn't the way you wanted to cut it and cut the other half a different way. Just know that the thing that's perfect about your meal is that you're creating food that's promoting your health, right? And that is going to help you achieve your health goals. So you'll notice, although I want to cry, I'm not crying because I've protected my eyes a little bit, but that does mean that I've got to do a little peeling at the end here, but that's okay. I'm not opposed to it. Just kidding. Woo, this is a strong onion. So if you're doing phase 1 or phase 2 and you're doing onions and you want to saute them to bring out the sweetness a little bit, holy smokes, this is a strong onion. This is going to be an amazing meal. You know what? Onions that have a tendency to look a little bit riper, borderline spoiled, will be a little bit more pungent. The more yellow you have, I'm going to try and show you. The more yellow you have, and this starts to turn auburn or orange, it's going to be a more pungent onion. I hope you guys are crying along with me and chopping along with me. Maybe I'll use this as a as a little release. Wow, this is a pungent one. It's so fun doing this with you guys. You guys have seen me cry before when I talk about health and wellness issues. But this time it's all about the onions. Okay, so I'm going to go back here just really quick and tell you, if you want to saute an onion, if you want to pump up that flavor in your onion, what you're going to do in a phase 1 or phase 2 is you're going to use like a vegetable broth. Excuse me, guys. I'm going to grab a tissue here in 2 seconds. I'm going to first, it's fun to have you in the kitchen. I'm going to just a little dabble Jimmy probably, but I don't want to be snorting the entire time that we cook together. Okay, I think I'm good. One last big snort in your ear, one more wash of the hands. So one thing that I wanted to tell you is, if you're making this and you're going to love this. This is delicious. This is like a family favorite for sure. But you might find that it's so easy to make and it's so delicious that you want to modify it or change it. And so one thing I want you to do, the app is free now, so everybody should have the app, and you can get it on the Android or on the iPhone. Let's see if I can dismiss this. You can go to, I've got to log in. Hold on just a second. We just updated it. If you have not updated your app, please do it because there is so many cool things going on here. Let's see. Sorry, I forgot to update. I'm going to start it today. My height. I'm a 6 foot tall blonde. I'm sure of it. And thanks for doing this with me. And I'll start it today. Okay, you can put any stuff that you need in there to get the dates started. But if you go here to your food list, if you guys can see this on your app, and let's say you're making this or you're going to the grocery store and you said, actually, I want to morph this into a phase 1 meal. You just put your phase 1, you highlight your phase 1, and then you go in here to your vegetables. There we go. And it says, oh my goodness, I could add all of these great vegetables. Of course, butternut squash is in there, but maybe instead of zucchini, you wanted to do carrots. Maybe you wanted to do chipotle peppers and bring some spice. Maybe you wanted to do some eggplant. Anyway, you can use that to modify this at all. So I'm going to grab all these. I'm going to actually throw a little bit of olive oil in my pan. You can make your onions like teeny tiny minced. You can make them big and chunky. However you like them is absolutely perfect. I wanted to show you one other thing. You'll notice I have a mercury-free paper towel in my pan. It's not because I'm actually going to cook my nonstick pan, but it's because I try to do everything that I can to not fracture or scratch the nonstick part of the pan. That's where we run into problems with nonstick pans. So I stack my pans and I just have like a lovely little paper towel in there. You can use like maybe a cloth napkin or something. But that way I use a drawer for my pans, and you'll see in my drawer, I stack my pans. I know it's maybe not the prettiest thing, but it sure gives dignity to the nonstick part of my pan, and it really helps improve my health. Okay, so I'm gonna sneak over here really quick and hope that I have some olive oil. Looks like I do. Voila. Okay, I'm just gonna put a little bit. You can measure it if you want. I would probably, for this, use, maybe 2 teaspoons of olive oil. You just need enough to kind of line the pan a little bit. And if you don't want to do this, throw your tomatoes in there, throw your garlic and your onions in there, and let the heat of the tomatoes do all the work. I have people in my family that are a little more sensitive to onions, and I like a lot of onions, so I will kind of brown and soften my onions just a little bit before I throw my tomatoes in. Okay, onions take a little bit longer than garlic, so you'll notice I cut my onions first. I'm going to turn my burner on and kind of ignore it. Whoops, wrong burner. Ignore it for a second, and I'm going to get my garlic going. All right, guys, how are you doing so far? Are you cooking with me? Are you watching me? Are you going to make this next week? What are you thinking? Okay, let's see. Garlic. How much garlic? Is there ever too much garlic? I'm really trying to not sniff anymore. Tablespoons of minced garlic. You can use the garlic that's already minced. I just want you to be really careful where you purchase it from. A bulk of our garlic that's minced is manufactured in other countries that, even if it says organic, I have concerns about the way in which they peel them and the chemicals in which they use. So, for example, I have a lot of people that have chicken allergies or have allergy response to chicken, and then we will have them do chicken with the skin on, and they have no problem. It's a lot of times the reactivity is to what they use to take the skin off of the chicken. And so, sometimes when stuff's pre-prepared for you, I understand and I get it that it's easier, because garlic isn't always the easiest thing to maybe peel. There's a lot of different techniques. I actually got a really cool garlic roller. I keep forgetting to use it. I like this garlic press, and I'll literally just press it right over my pan. But a lot of that pre-prepared stuff, you just want to be really careful, because sometimes the chemicals that they use to take the peels off the onions or the outside layer off of the garlic, a lot of times there's quite a bit of chemicals in that process. So I know it's a little extra work. Maybe, crank up the tunes a little bit. Maybe invite somebody to Zoom or GoToMeeting or FaceTime with you while you're cooking so that you can enjoy the time. But again, those are things that I just kind of watch out for. So some people like to put whole cloves in their garlic. I mean, in this meal, in the Italian chicken skillet, some people like to mince it. I'm going to mince it because I already pulled out my garlic press. So just going to throw it in there. Get my cardio in, or my weights in, and really squeeze the heck out of that. And I'm just going to grab my knife again really quick. Get the last bit. And my son, who always, like I said, sharpens my knife, would not be happy that I use the blade side, so I'm going to use the back side. I get in trouble in my kitchen all the time. All right, so walk with me really quick. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to move this around just a little bit, just enough to brown it a little bit. Again, this is more to my family's liking and my liking. You don't have to do this step. I'm going to turn that off. Oops, there's a rug. And I'm going to now add my tomatoes. Meanwhile, in a large non-stick skillet over medium heat, add the tomatoes, onions, garlic, chopped basil, and saute for 5 minutes until the onion is tender. So while I just let my onion go a little bit more, I'm going to chop my basil. I always tell people that if you want to vamp up or really make your herbs stand out, you want to traumatize them as much as possible. And so, you can do this a couple different ways. I roll mine and chop it, but some people even use like a meat tenderizer especially if you're really trying to get an herb to be really present in a recipe. And you really, really want that flavor to shine through. Like I love to do it with cilantro. I will take my cilantro and I will really pound it with a meat tenderizer first. This basil is very pungent. I think I'm going to be very satisfied with its presentation in this meal. And again, you can use your measurement like this and do this. And then you can grab the rest of it and do this. You can always add more herbs and spices. Remember, the herbs and spices are there to help as a food tonic, to help stimulate digestion, to help you access the protein in your meal. All right, I think I am just about ready for my tomatoes. And then that's just going to kind of simmer there, medium to low heat. Oh my gosh, I wish you could smell this. Actually, you can smell this because you're making it with me, right? Right now, we're cooking this together. I could literally put shrimp or chicken breast or a flank steak and just have this. It smells so good. A little bit of the Italian spices, and I would be good to go. All right. I'm going to add the tomato in there. Make sure that you use organic tomatoes. You can make your own. I've got recipe for that if you'd like to, and jar it. But make sure that you use an organic tomato and it doesn't have citric acid in it. It doesn't have a lot of additives and preservatives. If it does have citric acid, we just want to make sure that it's not corn-based. And so just kind of check that brand. You hate to do all this work and effort and have something that's ultimately not great for you from a health perspective. Okay, while that cooks, we are going to add the chopped zucchini, Italian herbs, and sea salt, and continue to cook for another 3 minutes. So Again, let's wash our zucchini. I'm just going to peel the labels off. It just makes it easier for me. I'm using the same cutting board. I'm not afraid to do that because there hasn't been meat cut yet. And let's see, how much of this does it say? Remember, if you can double down on your vegetables, if you're a veggie lover, double the amount of zucchini that you put in. If you love onions, double the amount of onions you put in. If you're a mushroom fan, throw mushrooms in there. You can layer this with so many incredible things. So on the zucchini here, it's 2 small zucchinis, or that's a 3 small zucchinis diced. These are definitely not what I would call small zucchinis. However, I like zucchini, so I'm going to put all 3 of those in. I'm going to go ahead and dice those. You can do cleanup during, you can do cleanup after. I am a big cleanup after. I make quite a mess in my kitchen, and I do kind of one fell swoop of cleanup when I'm done, and it just kind of works for me. But however you want to rule the kitchen, it is your kitchen to rule. So I'm just going to cut these up. You can make these big and chunky. You can make these little and tiny. You can grate these. I've had individuals that are not really wild about zucchini that will grate them for this recipe, and it actually blends in really, really well with the spaghetti squash. So be creative. You could use a yellow squash as opposed to a zucchini. That would be awesome and delicious in this also. Again, you could use something like eggplant. This one really just wants to be in my way. There we go. I like big chunky vegetables. When I make chili, and especially when someone's like kind of helping me chop in the kitchen, and they'll do these like little teeny minced carrots and stuff, I don't know if it's just visual, if it makes me feel more full, if it makes me feel more satisfied, but I am definitely more of a big, chunky vegetable person. One little trick, I know you guys know I've always got weird things that I do in the kitchen. These will not be thrown away. These will go into my, you know how I always tell you I have freezer bags of vegetables that I can puree, and I showed you guys that the other day when we made asparagus. These can be pureed and used in a soup stock, in a chili stock. This does not have to be wasted, and there's lots of great nutrients in there. It's just not a great presentation when you're making this meal. You know, you bite into the big end of a zucchini. It's not great. So I'm not going to use it for this, but I'm going to save it for something else. You don't have to throw these things away. You've invested in organic fruits and vegetables. They are not cheap, and they are definitely not meant to be wasted. Okay, so you can stack these up and cut them in half, which is what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to plop them right here. Maybe I'll move this over here. All right, you guys, how is your cooking going? Maybe you guys are already done. You guys are like way faster than me. I am not in a hurry. I'm loving spending the time with you, and I'm hoping that this is helping you. And I'm going to get this chopped up. I'm going to look at my recipe one more time, and then we're probably going to break for just a second while I run and grab my chicken. I just realized I didn't bring my chicken into here, so that you don't have to be alone in my kitchen. I will grab that really quick. I'm going to peek over my shoulder. Oh my goodness, this is looking so good. If it's cooking a little faster, don't feel the pressure to hurry up. Turn your burner off. Move things around a little bit. Take a little break. Run to the restroom. Go pick some flowers. Whatever you need to do, you can always stop and start a meal in the middle. My sister-in-law has spent a lot of time with me in the kitchen, but was really funny when she first started. You know, she always felt like there was like this timeline where everything kind of had to be completed or stopped and finished and ended. And, you know, she would say like, you're so relaxed in the kitchen, you're not worried about it. And now she's like pretty darn savvy herself. And my girlfriend Kelly, she was the same way. She was, one of the reasons why she didn't do a lot of cooking is she said she just made herself miserable. She felt like it was supposed to look particularly like something, or if she didn't measure something right. You know, the really only mistake that you can do in the kitchen is undercook a meat, not good, burn something, not good, and maybe over season or over spice. So be watchful of your proteins, like maybe that's where you focus your energy on, especially when you make a meal for the first or second time, a recipe for the first or second time. Be really watchful and really mindful of the protein part of it as far as over or under cooking, and maybe under spice. You can always add after the meal is completed. And then like infusing flavors, seriously, by simply browning your yellow onions and your garlic, it just like infuses the tomatoes so much more. It will completely change the outcome of your meal when you do little tricks like that. All right, let me just check this one more time, and then I'm gonna have to jet off really quick and grab my chicken. Okay, add the zucchinis, did it, add Italian herbs. Let me do that before I jump. On the Italian herbs here, remember I did put a little bit on my spaghetti squash. Let's see, Italian herbs. Where are you, Italian herbs? Who wrote this in such tiny font? Okay, 2 teaspoons. That's easy. That's awesome. Right here, 2 teaspoons. I throw my Italian herbs in there, and then I'm going to let this cook for a bit. This one. And there's 2. I wish you could smell this. I'm hoping you're smelling this at home. It is outrageous. It smells so good. I'm going to turn my flame back on. I'm going to let my zucchini get nice and then I need to look at the recipe. I wish you guys could talk to me and tell me. It was so fun when we cooked in America's Test Kitchen on the cruise, because as you can tell, I'm not the best at reading a recipe. And so they would like shout out. I actually had 2 really, every time we brought 2 people from the audience up, and it was really fun because they were like there helping me and coaching me. Okay, so let's let that cook until that zucchini gets soft. Is there anything else I'm supposed to add there? Italian herbs, sea salt, 3 minutes until the zucchini's tender. And then we're going to just add the chicken. We're going to pull the middle out of the spaghetti squash and cook another 4 minutes, and that's it. All right, so I have to grab my chicken. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. If you need to take a break at any time and grab your chicken, feel free to do so. Okay, you guys, I don't know about you, but I need a drink. I just realized that I know why I couldn't find my chicken. It was because I forgot to cook my chicken. So I'm going to have a little of my version of a mocktail, and we're going to make chicken together. So in there, you can roast a chicken if you would like. I am going to pan cook my chicken because it's fast, it's easy, and it'll get us back up to speed. So you may have already roasted your chicken, and that is totally fine. I like to do just like a little double check with myself and say, are there any other vegetables that I need to cook for later? So I went back and I re-looked at my recipe, and the only thing is I'm going to be pulling out my squash, so I don't really need to. So I'm going to go ahead and use this. I also just kind of get everything out of the way when I'm dealing with meats. I'm going to rinse my chicken. I always rinse my chicken, and usually you want to rinse your chicken in chilled water. My son put this really cool faucet on his sink where you just go like this and it turns on and off, and I love it so much because if you don't have to touch the faucets. So I find myself doing this where I'm washing my hands and I try to get access to my soap. I've got my chicken set aside in my sink. I turn my faucet off. And then one thing that I'll do is I'll put my chicken back up here. Go back. I don't know, maybe it's the biochemist in me, maybe it's all the bio classes. So remember how I said if you feel like things are rushing you or you've messed up or you've done something wrong, turn off your pan. I have these cast iron stove tops, so I actually moved my pan away, and I'm going to go, hold on a minute, guys, slow down there just for a second, because I forgot to cook my chicken. So I'm going to chop my chicken in pretty small pieces because it'll cook a lot faster, and I'm literally going to add a little bit of salt and pepper and a little teeny bit of olive oil. Again, if you're doing this for phase 2 or phase 1, you can do chicken broth. And I'm just going to brown the heck out of my chicken, and we're going to catch up. And I'm so glad, actually, that I made this mistake, because I hope that you feel like it's okay. Now, what will happen a lot of times at my house is when I make mistakes like this is I have everybody sitting at the end of my island telling me how starving they are. So remember, vegetables are always free, so you can always whip out some carrots or some bell peppers or celery and let them munch on that. If you've made my roasted chickpeas, you could let them munch on that. And you just want to own it in the kitchen and be like, oh, well, I like to cook my chicken after I'm really sure my zucchini is just about ready, because just all comes together so well there. So anyway, cut yourself some slack. Don't cut your finger off. And I have a second pan. That pan's been sitting here staring at us this whole time, because that's what I was going to cook my chicken in. You can also bake or roast chicken. This is a great, let's say, for example, last night you wanted to make a chicken meal, baked mango chicken or stuffed chicken breasts, or you wanted to roast a whole chicken. You could definitely set aside already cooked chicken for tonight's meal too. And let's say that maybe tomorrow you wanted to make fajitas. You could make double batch, or tacos. You could make double batch of this chicken that I'm making now and save the second half of it to go south of the border for tomorrow's meal. All right, my chicken is ready. I'm going to now donate that knife to the sink for the rest of the time, because I've now prepared meats with it. Just going to wash up here really quick. I'm going to use a little salt and pepper, a little bit of olive oil, and again, probably 2 teaspoons of olive oil. I have a nonstick pan. You could totally get away with not putting oil if you felt so inclined. Get a little more out of this. I love this. This is Grind to a Salt. It has a whole bunch of different peppers. This company, Simply Organic, has Chop House, which is really good too. It has, I think it's called All Cracked Up, which is cracked peppers, a whole bunch of different cracked peppers, which is really good. These are really clean herbs and spice blends that are awesome. I usually use the Chopped House a little more for red meats, and I usually use the Grind to a Salt a little bit more for maybe chicken and fish. So I'm just going to add a little bit of olive oil to this, throw it in there. If you'll notice, this was the same spoon that I used my Italian herbs, so it maybe has a little Italian herbs in there, but that's okay. I am going to, let's see, how should I move you guys around? These are ginormous pans. I love them because, as you guys know, I usually double batches all the time, but they weigh a ton. So I'm going to put this one over here on really, really low, so it just softens my zucchini a little bit more. I'm going to turn this one on here. And we're going to brown the chicken, and we're going to pretend like this never happened. So I think I'll use this. Again, like I talked about before, you want to make sure that your meats are always cooked all the way through. Chicken is not supposed to be pink when you're done cooking it. We'll brown that up in a quick little minute. This is going here into my sink. I am going to throw this in my trash. And I put a little bit of dish soap on here, let it soak for a second, and that will ultimately go into my dishwasher. Okay, guys, let's just review here for a second while our chicken is browning. So you can add more herbs and spices. You can add lots more vegetables if you'd like. But right here, we're going to add our roasted chicken and tender spaghetti squash. Mix well and cook for 4 minutes. Taste and season with salt and pepper. Remove from heat. Garnish with the remaining 1/4 cup of chopped fresh basil. Serve and enjoy. I might need to get a plate and a knife and a fork because I think we're going to sit down and have an awesome meal together. So this meal, you can do a lot of different twists. I have made this meal and I have used shrimp and mussels and clams. I've made it like a seafood Italian delight. Again, you can make this vegan and vegetarian. I would add things like eggplant and eggplant and mushrooms. Any of those things would be lovely. So I would like you guys to post what recipe you'd like me to make next. We should be able to do this normally in like 30 minutes together. But today I just wanted to make sure that you had all the access that you needed to cooking tips and improving your health tips. So I know that I keep pointing out like little kitchen things about, making sure that you're doing food safety things. I have this lovely dish right here next to my stove, and I'll do that while I'm mixing some stuff up. This one is what I was using for my chicken. I'll leave that right there too. I have a rug that I keep tripping over. Sorry, guys. It's not because of what I'm drinking. And actually, I don't know why I didn't do this earlier, but as I was sniffing and snorting because of the onions, I should have drank in a little bit of metabolism energy because of the histamine piece. So it was really funny as I was getting ready to prepare, and I was getting help kind of cleaning off my counter. They said, do you want me to get rid of your shake and your energy? And I said, no, that's what I have and what I drink all the time and what I use in my kitchen. So I'm just going to brown the chicken up a little bit. The zucchini looks amazing and lovely and delicious. This is just about done over here. We have a multitude of things going on. I'm just going to use a little couple things that I always say, make sure that you don't. I like to fold my vegetables. I don't like my vegetables mushy at all. We should just about be done with that. I'm just going to take a little peek. Oh my goodness, it looks beautiful. Okay, my chicken is browned. We're going to add this. We're like getting ready to be done, guys. So my chicken's browned. I am just going to add this in. Oh my gosh, this smells so good. I know I keep saying that, but this really smells so good. I'm going to add this. I need a little mitt because, again, this is a heavy pan. I'm going to add this in with my zucchini. Stick this over here on my other counter. That's fun, you guys following me around my kitchen. I got so excited I forgot what I was doing. I'm going to move this over to this burner just so we have a little bit better view. Can you believe how much food this has made? I am so excited about this. And turn that on for a second, and I've got to get the squash out of the oven. So let's see, let's pull this out. Let's turn that off. Oh my gosh, I love this squash a lot. We use this a lot in our household. I seriously feel like I don't have a big enough pan. You can always get a second skillet out if you've started to add more vegetables, like if you are one that wants to add eggplants and mushrooms and more onions. Dare I? Nope. Just going to pull this over. Look at that. Isn't that delicious? I'll try and do this without burning myself. So I'm going to put this all into this bowl. And then you can mix it in your pan, but because I have my pan so full, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to serve this on my plate, and then I'm going to pour everything over the top. I was going to put it in a bowl, but I think I'm going to do this a little bit differently. Remember, you cannot have too much vegetables, right? It's kindling for your metabolic fire. So I'm going to serve this a little bit differently. I do think I have the biggest island in the world, and sometimes I feel like even then I run out of space. Oh my gosh. This looks and smells so good. Really, for my family, I will usually make 2 whole of these because we like a lot of the squash, and you really cannot eat too much of this. It would be considered unlimited. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I'm just so excited about this meal. But right now, I'll just plate it. I'm going to be a little more generous. I'm excited to see who's going to eat this first. Now, you can mix it directly into your pan if you want. I've just got my pan very full, and I actually made 4 of these, so I've got another set of this in my oven. I'm going to move this over here, bring this over here, and what I realized is I'm going to need a little more of that basil to put on top. So I'm going to show you something. Whoops. Whoops. I have a second set of squash cooking because our family eats a lot of food. So don't hesitate to make big, huge double batches. This, the squash reheats really good the next day. So you could make a completely different meal. You could use beef or lamb or put the garden meatballs over it. So if you're going to already bake double. All right. And then we come over here. Oh my gosh, this smells amazing. Absolutely amazing. If you're on phase 3, you can put pine nuts on the top. I'll show you that. We'll garnish it. Let's grab another little spoon. Have you guys ever made this meal before? Are you making it right now? Are you looking forward to making it next week? I'm dying to hear. I'm going to put some pine nuts and get a little more basil. I think we're going to have a little fight in my kitchen over who gets to eat this one. All right, guys, this meal, I'm going to add a little grapefruit extract. Just wash this off really quick. This meal refrigerates really well. It's not my favorite to freeze, but it refrigerates really, really well. So it's a great one to have for dinner and then have for lunch the next day, or have for dinner 2 nights in a row. That is a really good use of this meal. Again, you can use seafood. You could make it vegan or vegetarian. You could easily morph this into a phase 1 or phase 2 meal. I'm going to add, there you go. All right, you guys, please post a picture of what you made. I hope this helped for us to cook together. I hope it was useful for you to see me, make all kinds of blunders and imperfections in my own kitchen. I am hoping I can find, here it is. I'm going to have a little bite. I can't help myself. I loved spending this time with you. I'm so proud of you for focusing on your health. I'm excited that you're cooking. I hope you enjoy your time in your kitchen, that you realize and recognize a lot of people say, oh, I was too tired to cook. It's not running a marathon. It's about, I think sometimes if you take the mindset of it's kind of a calming, soothing, meditative, pleasure-inducing process. And I think the best way to have that mindset is to feel confident about what you're cooking. So I hope this was easy. I hope this made it simple for you. I know this is, oh my God. All right, guys, I gotta go. I got a meal to eat. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.